Hello friends, happy Monday and welcome to Stampin' Peace with Mary Knabe. Oh, I hope you had a great weekend. Mine was pretty good. Friday evening I just worked. Saturday, my daughters Andrea and Emily had planned for the family to get together and go to a pumpkin patch, corn maze, harvest festival at a local farm. So the whole family got together and did that. It was a beautiful day to be outside. We always have lots of fun. They have apple cider slushies that we look forward to at this place, and we all got pumpkins, of course. Had lunch out, and then we were all back at Andrea and John's to watch the Ohio State-Wisconsin game. Ohio State won, yay, go Buckeyes. And then Emily spent the night at my house, and we did a few things around the house yesterday, and I'm trying to do some purging in my basement, and she took a Christmas tree and some ornaments for her new apartment when she's ready to put that up. So little by little, I'm going through things and starting to purge and clear things out. But yeah, the weather was great. We just all had a nice family time. I do just want to throw out a reminder. A friend of mine is going through a devastating loss, and so asking for prayers for her, but it reminded me to really focus on the things that matter. Let go of the little things that don't matter so much, and to really treasure the time with our loved ones, because life can change very quickly. So food for thought for this Monday. On Friday's Facebook Live, if you missed it, it was all about creating your own designer series paper. And this is what we made. This was the designer series paper created during Friday's Facebook Live. And then from that, I showed everybody how to cut that to make 5 cards. All right, I did 2 horizontal and 3 vertical, but you can do any combination. But you'll want to take a look at that. It's not on my blog yet, but the video is here on Stampin' Peace with Mary Knabe. And the demonstration with all the details and photos will be up this week on stampinpeace.com. Today we're going to be using many of the same supplies and sort of doing a version of that, I'll say, called 4 corners. I call it the 4 corners technique. Before that, quick reminder that tomorrow, September 27th, is the very last day to sign up for my Tea Boutique class to go. There's information about that on stampinpeace.com. If you have trouble locating it and are interested in that class to go, just message me or email me, and I will send that off to you right away. And now I'm ready to get started on today's project. So I'm going to flip my camera around. While I'm doing that, please share this live video and invite others to join us for today's card making demonstration. Okay, as I said, we'll be using some of the same materials or supplies as I did for Friday's Facebook Live, which includes the Soft Seedlings stamp set. This can be found in our July to December mini catalog. You'll want to, for this technique, you'll want to have your Simply Chamois close by, because you are going to need to clean your stamp in between color changes. Now for this, I'm starting with an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. This is very vanilla. And I'm going to cut it down a 1/2 inch on one short side and a 1/2 inch on one long side. And the reason for that is after I do all my stamping, I'm going to be cutting this down into 4 equal pieces, 5 inches by 3 3/4. So I've got 5 inch by plus another 5 inch, that's 10 inch length. And then, I'm sorry, 5 1/4 by 4, 5 1/4 by 4. I thought that's not right. 5 1/4 and 5 1/4 would be 10 1/2. So I cut off 1/2 inch from that 11 inch length, and then 4 inches and 4 inches wide. So I cut off a 1/2 inch on this side from the 8 1/2. All right. So this measures 10 1/2 by 8 inches. 10 1/2 by 8 inches. All right. And I'm not going to do any cutting of this just yet. I'm going to do my stamping first. You'll definitely want to use some grid paper or scrap paper, just like we did on Friday's Facebook Live. Colors I'm using are Mossy Meadow, Pear Pizzazz, I'll turn them this way so you can see the colors on the end, and Crumb Cake, Crumb Cake. And for this, instead of doing all over stamping, for my 4 corners technique, I'm basically going to stamp across the middle and down the middle, all right? Stamping in the middle, both directions. And I'm going to start with, let me move these, with the Mossy Meadow. So while you're stamping, try to envision the halfway marks. You don't really need to draw pencil lines or anything but just kind of envision where the halfway lines would be, okay? And I'm going to clean this with my Simply Chamois. And then I'm going to stamp some with Pear Pizzazz. You can turn your paper any direction you like. You can also choose to use other colors. On Friday's Facebook Live, we did Cajun Craze, Crushed Curry, Pear Pizzazz, Mossy Meadow, and Crumb Cake. So we added a couple other fall colors. But for this, I'm doing more of a tone-on-tone with the leaves. I want something more right in here. It's okay that everything overlaps. In fact, in my opinion, it looks better if they do overlap. Looks a little more random, I'll say. All right, I'm putting that big stamp aside. And now I'm going to stamp just with Crumb Cake, these seedlings. Or if you heard me say, excuse me, if you heard me say on Friday, when we were kids, we liked to call these helicopters because we would throw them up into the air and let them fall, and they did like that propeller motion. So we, as little kids, called them helicopters. Does that sound familiar to anybody else? Again, it's just kind of random. And you kind of just keep going until it looks adequate to you. And I'll say that. And I think that looks pretty good to me. So let me get that out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and close up these ink pads for now. Who was with me on Friday? Anybody watching on Friday? 2 p.m. was the Facebook Live. I introduced people, or maybe just was a refresher for some, maybe new to others, but we did a splattering technique using the some Stampin' Right markers. I'm going to do the same thing today. I pulled out Real Red, or Cherry Cobbler, but I think I want to go back to Cajun Craze. I'm going to use, open the painter tip, the paintbrush tip on the Cajun Craze Dark. And then I'm using the light Stampin' Blend to just tap that first open Stampin' Blend I have. And I'm just moving my Stampin' Blend around as I do this splattering. You can do as much or as little as you want. It's very random. Make sure you're using your scrap paper or grid paper, of course. And I'm also going to splatter with some Daffodil Delight. So I'm opening up the dark shade and tapping with the coordinating Stampin' Blend. So I've got, gonna have 2 shades of splatter in here. Now you can try and keep the splattering more in line, I'll say, with your stamping, or you can just let it be a little more free. Let me hold this up closer to the camera so you can see what it's like. Okay, so you can see the 2 colors of splattering there. And now it's time to cut this. So remember, we started with 8.5 by 11, but we cut it down to 10.5 by 8. All right, 10.5 by 8. So now we're going to cut this in 4 equal pieces. So I'm going to cut at 5 1/4 inch. Half of 10.5 is 5 1/4. And then we have 8 inches across. Half of that is 4 inches. So the end result will be 4 pieces that each measure 5 1/4 by 4 inches. Now, if you wanted smaller layers, you could start by cutting your cardstock down even more. That original piece, 8.5 by 11, you could cut it down even more. For example, if you want these layers to be 5 inch by 3 3/4, so a little bit smaller, you would cut your cardstock 10 inches by 7.5. You would simply double the dimensions of this, okay? Same thing if you wanted it 4.5 by 3, you could double the dimensions. But our most standard, most common layer is the 5 1/4 by 4. So that's what I did, 10.5 by 8 inches. I doubled each dimension. Now I'm going to put these on my mossy metal card bases. I already cut and scored those. But before I do that, I want to give them a little bit of a, what do I want to say, rustic, weathered look, I'll say. And to do that, I'm just opening my paper snips, and I'm going to drag one open blade across the edge. So you can see what it does. It just roughens that up a little bit. Just gives it a more of a rustic look. Ages ago, many years ago, Stampin' Up! Used to have little tools that did this, but we don't need them, do we? It's been a long time since they've sold them. And I think because we can do this with a tool we already have, our paper snips. And you can do a little or you can do a lot. You can keep going over this if you want it even more textured on the edges. Just gives a slightly different look than what we're used to. We typically have that crisp, clean edge. And I kind of like this rough edge for fall cards. Whoops, didn't mean to tear that, but we'll make it work. That does happen occasionally, but I just work around it. If that happens, I find a way to work around it. Don't let it get to me. And you shouldn't either. That's one of those little things we need to let go of because we can work around that. The fun thing about this four corners technique, as I call it, is that it's a very quick and easy technique that allows you to make 4 cards at once. And the other thing I love about it is that each card turns out a little bit different than all the others, okay? So now let's just add these to our card fronts. And with these, you can make them go whatever direction you want. They can be vertical, they can be horizontal. You can decide where you want the stamped corner. I tend to go the same each time. Put them, the stamped corners at top left and bottom left. But you can do it any way you like. There is no right or wrong. And your cards can be horizontal or vertical. They look great both ways. And again, there's no right or wrong. The card base, Melanie, is Mossy Meadow. And the inks I used were Mossy Meadow, Pear Pizzazz, and Crumb Cake. Okay. And Melanie, if I remember correctly, you had won something in one of the Facebook Lives, and I need your mailing address. If you would just message me that, I can send it to you. Unless I'm not remembering correctly and you already did it. Because that does happen at times. Okay, and now it's just time to put some sentiments on. So here's some, I don't know, I think I'll do 2 vertical and 2 horizontal. Now, there's a couple ways we can do this. We can add labels. I've got a few here that I've already punched. So let me use those. And on here, I'm going to pull out the Thinking of You stamp for these. I'll do 2 Thinking of You and 2 So Grateful. These make nice masculine cards. They're great for anybody, but really with the colors and the style and the theme, they make great masculine cards, whether it be for birthdays or anything at all. Now I am stamping with Early Espresso, which is not one of the 3 stamps I've already used. But Early Espresso really stands out and it works well with the colors I've already chosen. Now for the So Grateful, well, I guess I'll use the same color. I was going to switch it up, but I guess I'll use the same color. on these, I'm going to do some punching. Let me set this aside. And when you're punching, here's a tip, and this is the perfect time to remind you, is with this particular punch, the Label Me Fancy. Always think about what direction you need to punch, and therefore make sure that your stamping coordinates with that. Because typically I would want to stamp across, right? Well, no, I need it going this direction. Okay, I need it going that direction to fit in the stamp or fit in the punch properly. This is the Label Me Fancy punch. It's one I actually use quite frequently. If you watch a lot of my lives, you probably noticed that. It's one of my go-to punches. Okay. Oops, I cut 4. Punch 4. I only need 2. I already did the thinking of use. Okay, I'll put 2 aside and use those for another project later. Never hurts to have some extra sentiments lying about, especially when they're on neutral cardstocks. Oh. Okay, we're going to set that aside. And while I'm doing this, I want you to consider various ways you might embellish these kinds of cards. Considering the design, the theme, the colors used. How would you choose to embellish these cards? What products would you use to embellish these cards? They would make great birthday cards, sympathy cards. What else? Thinking of you, get well, congratulations, happy retirement. They're super versatile, so you could use these for just about any occasion. Great cards for nature lovers, male or female, any age, right? Sometimes teens and young adults, it can be kind of hard to come up with a theme for them. And these, I think, would work well for that, for those age groups. Oh, look at you. Ribbon. Leaf or sprig cluster. The gold cord. Ooh, the gold cord nesting. Okay, let's leave this off. Let's put we'll put 2 cards together. And on this one, we're going to change it up and put some of that gold cord on. If I have some, I thought I had some. Oops. I'm sure I do. Hold on, I will find it. Here it is. So who said that? Melanie said a gold cord nest. So basically what she's talking about is when you kind of just loop some of that gold cord. I want to make it just a little bit bigger. and then lay it on the back, adhere it to the back. There's some snips. Oh, let me start again. I'm getting tangled here. So typically about 3 loops. You can make it more or less, but typically 3 loops is pretty good. And you can make those loops larger or smaller. I'm going to add a little, whoops, come on. And these don't have to be perfect. These little loops, the nest that Melody mentioned, it doesn't have to be perfect looped around. In fact, I kind of like the whimsical look of it. Oh, that's a little too big, isn't it? Some people, and this might even be easier, some people actually form the circles right on the back of the banner. Melanie, which way do you do it? Do you hold it in your fingers, or do you actually do it right on the back side? It would have been easier if I had not thought of this first or seen the comment before I put dimensionals on. But I am going to make it work. Okay. It's not the neatest, but it's going to work. I am making it work. And I guess that's part of the lesson. It doesn't have to be neat. Okay, Melody, you hold it in your fingers. Yeah, I always did too. And for some reason, just recently, I started trying it this way, putting the adhesive down on the back of my banner and then just trying to loop it around and tack it to the banner as I go along. So all of you, try both ways and see what you're most comfortable with. Which this would have worked out better had I put all of the flat adhesive, the snail seal or Stampin' seal, down first and then put the gold cord and then the dimensionals last. Okay, so that's what Melanie was talking about when she said nesting the gold cord. Okay, so let me put this away. On this one, we're going to do a couple different things. I have the gold shimmer ribbon. Actually, we have a lot of really good ribbons that would work with these colors and the whole leaf theme. So I'm going to pull out some different ones. This is the gold shimmer ribbon, which I believe, if I remember correctly, is, or was it last week? It might be on the weekly deal. It was either last week or this week. I can't remember. I hate to tell you wrong if it was last week. And this is the last of the weekly deal promotion. I did put a reminder about that on today's blog post at stampinpiece.com. Week 4 ends on Wednesday the 28th, and that is it for the September weekly deals. I think I'll put this here. So there's 2. And then we're also going to use this early espresso ribbon. This is faux suede ribbon. And it is really dark because it is the early espresso color, but that's what I used to stamp the sentiment. So that will work. That'll kind of tie that ink color in to the rest, make it stand out a little bit more. And remember, your bows don't always have to go top and bottom. They can go on the left and right. They can go up and down. All right. Just kind of putting it on at a different angle or a different direction can really change the look. And then, let's see, we need one more. And I think, let me see, where is it? Yeah, I'm not going to use that. I'm going to go with the linen thread, but look how much is left on there. But no worries, I always have linen thread. It's also one of my favorite trims. If I can find the end of it. Does this happen to you too? I don't know why it's so hard to find the end when these are starting out. Is that it? No. Come on. Okay, we're just going to go like this. And sometimes I end up doing that. Can't wait till my precious craft time, right? And for this, I'm going to use a double bow. So I just took a long length, folded it in half, to tie a double bow. Trim the ends a bit. And I'm going to put this on with just a drop of the multi-purpose glue. To lay a clear block on top of it for that to dry. So there you have 4 cards made using with what I call the 4 corners technique, stamping technique. Super easy to do, right? You saw me do it beginning to end. About 30 minutes has passed and I have 4 cards finished. If you wanted to add things other than maybe some other embellishments rather than ribbons and bows and trims, ones you might consider would be, somebody says gilded gems, the gold gilded gems. Yes, but for me, they're retired. So I'm pulling from, these are classic matte dots, and there are some in here that are vanilla in color, which I think would be very nice to use, like those. I don't know if I want to put any on. Here's some gold sequins. Ooh, that's kind of pretty. A lot of times I do one or the other, ribbon or an embellishment. We have gold in the festive pearls. The, oh, this I love. Actually, I love these. These are the metallic matte dots, right? Rustic metallic dots. Rustic metallic dots. So again, lots of different choices. Some of you might choose to use the amber gems from the Leaf Label and Amber Gem combo pack. Let's just see what we can do with a few of these. I'm thinking I like this there. Okay. How about maybe a couple over here? I think this needs the bright gold. So those bright gold dots are from the Festive Pearls. Festive Pearls, there's four colors, I'm sorry, 4 colors. And this one, I don't know that I want the gold with that. I'm thinking I'm going to go with these vanilla classic matte dots. They're much more subtle here, so they're not taking away from... I'm going to move this one down. That gold ribbon, the shimmery gold ribbon. I feel like these then do not compete with that. I'll put a few down here too. All right, what do you think? Tell me first, what do you think of the technique? I know, Sylvia, I love using these leaf stamps for fall cards. Fall is, I don't know, I always thought spring was my favorite season because I enjoy the new life. I enjoy going out into my yard every day and seeing the different blooms and different things popping up out of the ground. But I don't know, spring or fall may be a very close second for me. All right, so here you see we've made 4 quick and easy cards with the corner stamping technique, and I showed you how to kind of roughen up those edges, give it more of a rustic look around the edge, and then we finished each one off a little bit differently with different ribbon or trim and a different embellishment. So you can see that way too. The cards are super versatile and lots of fun to just mix and match and play with and pick out your favorite things to use to embellish. All right. If you would like to receive one of these cards, let's see, let's put the name of the technique, 4 corners stamping. All right. And remember, we didn't stamp 4 corners of that DSP or of the cardstock, did we? We did not stamp 4 corners of the cardstock. We stamped straight across the middle in both the horizontal and vertical direction. But when we cut our cardstock, that's when we ended up with the 4 corners stamped. All right. So type in the comments now, 4 corners stamping. And those that do that, I will put your name into the drawing for you to perhaps receive one of these 4 cards. And once again, Soft Seedlings is the name of the stamp set. One quick announcement before I say goodbye. I will not, most likely, I'm probably 99% sure, will not be doing a Facebook Live this Wednesday. I will be driving from Columbus to Cincinnati to attend a funeral visitation. And I really don't think I'll be back in time, or if I am, it'll be pushing it. So I think I better just cancel for Wednesday evening. But I will be back on Friday afternoon with another Facebook Live. And be sure between now and Friday, you are checking out my blog, stampinpiece.com. Lots of Facebook replays are going up this week, and we'll have lots of details with cutting dimensions, etc. So be sure and check that out, okay? Anyways, Thank you once again for joining me on this Monday, September 26th afternoon. I appreciate you being here and giving me the opportunity to share with you what I love to do so much. Have a great day.